Ford High School Weekly is brought to you by your Oklahoma Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Oklahoma. And by Rib Crib, smoking good stuff since '92.
Welcome to Ford High School Weekly. I'm your host, Deanna Amade. This week's episode, we got another special guest for you. My man, Rod Thompson. The man, the myth, the legend, Stingray Rod is what they call him. How's it going, man?
Going good, man. Great time of the year. So glad to be on with you, Deanna.
Man, speaking of that, it's kind of my time of the year. Football time is hot and heavy right now. We got a lot of state championship games that are going to be played this weekend. Let me go ahead and get your opinion. You've called a lot of these teams that are going to be playing in this matchup, but let's go ahead and start with 6A2, Bixby Spartans versus Deer Creek. What do you know about the Bixby Spartans, and what do you kind of anticipate happening over there?
Well, I think all you need to know is Bixby Spartans. I mean, they've been tremendous what they've been able to do. I mean, you're looking at a run that Coach Lauren Montgomery has put together with this team. I mean, and of course, barring something crazy happens, I mean, I know you have to play the game, but heavy favorites. I mean, this is one of the better teams that I've been able to cover, and I've been doing it a long time. When you talk about what they've been able to do on both sides of the football, I mean, with their experience, with their speed, athleticism, I mean, they haven't been challenged. But I think when you look at what they've been able to do and the combination that they've been able to have, all the great teams that I've been able to cover, they've always had this. Offensive, defensive line, very good. Then when you get to the skill positions that they have, I mean, you talk about the Presleys, and we've seen what the older brother's doing at OSU, the youngest brother. So when you add that and you have the skill that add with that, I think that combination of the different formations that they run, they're very hard to defend. But when you have that great combination of offensive line, defensive line, skilled guys, speed, it's really nothing that you miss with this team.
For sure. All right, let's go ahead and move up to 6A1. It's a team that both of us are familiar with that gets to take part in this gold ball matchup here. Jinx versus Union. It's not the backyard bowl, but this one's for all the marbles. What do you think about the situation that both of these teams are coming into?
Well, it's so interesting, Dion, doing the backyard bowl and having these games, and then for so many years having these teams play that first game and then end up in the championship game, and this is what you're familiar with. And so you never know. On the Union side, their defense has really stepped up. Gabe Jones is doing a tremendous job, and I think offensively, we've seen Jaden Rowe, who is the outstanding defensive back / safety, whatever he plays, really fast, athletic. You didn't really see him much on the offensive side of the ball. Last couple of games, you've been able to see that. He's been able to generate points for them. So definitely the team dynamics have changed. I think when you look at this team, it was very big for Union to get that win against a very good Broken Arrow team. Sterling Ramsey leading that team, and that was a close game, and I think that was good for Union to win. But this Jinx team is a different team also. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I always like to see the adjustments made from the first game to the second game. Who steps up, who's played well, who didn't play well in the first game, they'll play well in the second game. And, hey, we're used to seeing this, the usual suspects in that 6A matchup, Union and Jinx. It's going to be a good one for the gold ball.
I couldn't said it better myself. That's something that everybody's looking forward to, and that matchup does happen on Saturday at UCO. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one falls. But with basketball coming up here soon, we always know that when the gold balls are starting to being brought out for football, basketball season is right around the corner. Rod, you're the man to talk to about all that. Go ahead and talk to me with the 6A boys division. Who's the favorite? Who are some of the teams that we should be looking out for?
Well, I think the 6A it's very interesting because I think we're in a time in Oklahoma. We have some very good classes coming up with some outstanding players that you're going to be able to see. That it's going to be good. That I know, Dion, you'll keep everybody updated. This is really exciting time, both girls and boys basketball. And if you're just a fan, you don't have a kid playing, you don't have a team, that you're able to get out and watch some of these teams play. I think when you talk about 6A, if we were just kind of hitting on players, you look at a team like Bixby, who has an outstanding player, and Parker Frederickson has an unbelievable summer. One of the top guys, very good shooter. It's going to be interesting how that team adjusts. don't have their coach now, their old coach. They got a new coach now. Lost a couple of players. It's going to be interesting to see the adjustments that they're able to make. As you keep going, you look at this Union team. Coach Rudy Garcia. I mean, this is probably one of his most talented teams that he had, as in terms of guys that are projected to play at the next level. Of course, Trent Pierce, an outstanding player, 6'8", 6'9", can really shoot it. Chris Mason, outstanding player. Cedric Dixon, an outstanding player. But, them having to mesh together is going to be key. They played some games and, having to make some adjustments. So it'll be interesting to see, with them. One of the teams that I think that could be the most improved team will be Booker T. Washington. From the jump they made last year, Eli Brown is doing a good job. Of course, they have Cam Parker, I.J. Johnson, and the addition, a Wasso transfer, when you talk about Aaron Potter. He brings a lot of energy to that team, plays extremely well. And then when you talk about the other side of the state, of course, Edmond, JVC, the commitment to Abilene Christian, he's an outstanding player that you have to be able to look at. And then when you look, Dion, you look at Norman North. That team is very good. Kellen McCoy has that team poised. They get Jeremiah Johnson, one of the top kids, definitely in the state and the country. And they also have Kevin Overton. It's going to be interesting to see how they gel together. So those are just a few of the teams. One that I can't leave out, and I know you'll have me on again, so we don't leave anybody out, but Broken Arrow. Watch Broken Arrow with Coach Bo Wallace. I mean, this team, Connor Dowd is a much improved player, can really shoot the basketball. Braden comes back in at that point guard position for them. This is a team, some young freshmen that are really good. This Broken Arrow team, if it's one team that you circle, now Bo Wallace was on a team that won a state championship there. They feel like this team could be really, really good when you talk about putting this team together. They're a team that you also watch in Class 6A. So when you talk about all the teams across the state, I think everybody, the average fan, should be excited about these teams, the type of players that we have. And you have to have me on again so we can really get in depth and talk about some more of these teams. So 6A boys, very good shape. A lot of talent, out there for these young men.
All right, Rod, when we come back, let's go ahead and talk about some of the ladies that are in that 6A division as well. We'll get more about that when we come back here on Forward High School Week.
Forward High School Weekly is brought to you by Billy Sims Barbecue. It's not just barbecue, it's Boomer Q.
Welcome back to Forward High School Weekly. We're talking with my man Rod Thompson about everything that's going on here in Oklahoma high school basketball. Now, Rod, we talked about the 6A boys. Now let's go ahead and talk about the 6A girls. Who are some of those teams that we need to look out for in that division?
Well, Edmond North will be extremely good. It's a very good team. You talk about they have an outstanding player. When you talk about Tony Pepperoni, she's an outstanding player for their team. They're very good. You also have to look at Tahlequah. Coach Qualls has a very good team that is playing well. They have a UT Arlington commit. When you talk about Smalls, Goodo, she's an outstanding player for that team. They're also very good. You also have to look at Bigsby. I mean, they have a lot of experience going back. They've had younger players that have been good for a long time. They're now seniors. They're Division I recruits. When you talk about Gracie Warnley, and also you talk about Meredith Mays for that team. Union has an outstanding player. Coach Joe Redmond has that team back and poised and ready to go. They'll be making some noise also. So when you talk about this team, PC West on the other side of the state, they're very good, have a very good, one of the best young classes, in the state. I mean, you can almost argue the country. I mean, they're very, very good. Charcoal has Raven Jackson. And so you have a lot of good players. Broken Arrow, when you talk about what they have, Talia Jones is an outstanding player. She's also going to UT Arlington, and they have an outstanding freshman that you need to get to know. She's outstanding and can play also. So when you look at these teams, and a lot of times, and we've done this a lot, many years, as you can see, you have a lot of outstanding players, a lot of really good teams. It should be very fun. Mathurin is that freshman that her name escaped me, but she's outstanding. You need to be sure to go watch her play. Dad was a good player too. I give him a hard time all the time, but a lot of talent, Dion, out here. And as you said, I hope you get me back on and we can really break down, because I know I'm leaving some out, but outstanding class when you talk about 6A, state of Oklahoma boys and girls in a good place right now.
We'll have more with Rod Thompson a little later. But Michael Knight's up next on Ford High School Weekly. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. Well, it's that time of the week once again. My man Michael Knight from Prep Red Zone's here to talk with us about recruiting and 6A championships here in Oklahoma. So let's go ahead and start off with recruiting. We had some big news break here in the state, and it kind of affects a lot of people and a lot of these student athletes. So what have you heard about the news in recruiting here in the state of Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, obviously the bombshell over the weekend with Lincoln Riley headed west to be the head coach at USC. That certainly sent some shockwaves through the state. So I'll be interested to see who the next staff is and how they recruit Oklahoma. Anytime you're OU, and we've talked about it plenty of times when it comes to recruiting, they recruit the best of the best when it comes to in-state prospects. Now, they've certainly missed in past years. They have a commitment from Gentry Williams, but, the past several seasons, they haven't gotten the top guy in the state's class, from Dax Hill, who ended up at Michigan, Kendall Daniels, who signed with A&M, who's now at OSU, Josh Proctor, who's up at Ohio State. So I'll be interested to see who the next coach is, how he recruits Oklahoma. As for the kids who are already committed, there's 4 of them. Gentry Williams, as I mentioned, from Booker T. Then you have Jacob Sexton from Deer Creek, Robert Spears Jennings from Broken Arrow. I think that those guys are pretty solid with their commitments. I don't see them changing their mind. The only guy I would watch out for is Gentry. I know he took an official out to Los Angeles and USC, so we'll see what happens. But it's certainly sent some shockwaves over the weekend. There's certainly going to be some changes coming in Norman.
Yeah, I was able to check out, Saxton and his post there last night, and then RJ Spears Jennings has always been a strong OU commit. So that's 2 guys that I don't think anybody should be worried about. But Gentry Williams from Booker T. Washington, the outstanding athlete, defensive back and wide receiver, he was, he had USC a part of his, I want to say, top 4 or top 3. So right. That is something that can be concerning if you're a fan of the school over there in Norman.
Yeah, and the fallout has certainly been immediate with all the decommitments and players, reopening their recruitment. But that's mainly been the 2023 class. I think the majority of those decommitments are coming from, current juniors. So I think their 22s are okay, especially in state. I don't imagine those guys, reopening their recruitment. The only guy, like I said, I would think about is Gentry Williams. And as of right now, I don't think there's any indication that he's going to do that. I think he's pretty solid on OU. And then as of the in-state guys for 2023, they do have a commitment from Luke Has from Bixby. And like I think that, same case scenario, he's pretty solid with them. But, he's been recruited by everybody over the last 12 months. So things could change, as we know, in recruiting. But I don't see it happening right now.
Let's go ahead and move on to 6A1. That matchup happens Saturday at 1 o'clock over there at UCO Stadium. What's going to be needed to do for this Union or Jinx team to take the gold ball?
I think whenever you're talking about Jinx and Union, you kind of gravitate to the big play, right? We think about all the different matchups that they've had in their history, and whether it's Keywan Jones going 80 yards for a touchdown with 8 seconds left in 99 or 2000, or if it's Christian Hood and Stephon Weaver back in 2010 for Union. There's big plays all the time, so it's finding ways to impact the game all the other times. That there's going to be some big plays. Talking with both coaches, they stressed special teams a lot. Whether it's trick plays in the special teams, we've seen Union pull those out, Jinx as well. I'm interested to see, how the running games look for both teams. They both want to run it. And so, coincidentally, how do the quarterbacks react when it's 3rd and 9, when it's 3rd and 12, when they're behind the chains and they can't run to continue a drive, they can't run the ball. How do they react? How do they perform on the biggest stage? But it's Jinx Union, man. I mean, this is going to be a great game. Even though Union's been shut out the last couple of times, they're playing great football right now. So I think that this game is going to be incredibly close, and it could be another instant classic. I mean, when it comes to Jinx and Union, that's typically what we get.
Well, Michael, thank you once again for joining us. And for everybody who needs more information on Prep Red Zone and where to find you, where do they go?
Yeah, just check us out on prepredzone.com/Oklahoma. As always, that coupon code NIGHT25 will save you 25% off your subscription. We got a ton of championship coverage coming up, from highlights to pictures to game articles. A ton of coverage coming up this weekend, as well as for the small schools next week in 2A and A. And then we'll wrap up the month of December with all of our postseason coverage, look back at the season, awards, all-state, all that stuff. So now's a great time to subscribe. I say that every single week, but it is a great time with the championships coming up. You can check us out on prepredzone.com/Oklahoma.
Next up, Rod Thompson's back to burn some rubber and talk about why he'll be on YurView's Driven. That's coming up next on Ford High School Weekly.
Ford High School Weekly is brought to you by Billy Sims Barbecue. It's not just barbecue, it's Boomer Q.
Welcome back. I am your man, Dion Amade, and this is Ford High School Weekly. And interviewing right now, the man that you need to know that has all the basketball scoops all over the state, Rod Thompson. But we're not going to talk about basketball this segment. We're going to talk about cars. Now, if you don't know, Rod Thompson's got all the whips, and he be showing them off. So Rod, first of all, how did you even get into cars?
Well, I've been loving cars a long time. My dad, I was always around cars and burning rubber and being around and messing with motors. So I always kind of grew up around cars and going fast. And as I got older, just kind of, really gravitated towards it even more. Me and my dad would go pick up cars, buy cars and sell cars. And, finally get to the point where I could keep them and enjoy them. And so, it's something that we've been able to share together. And also, my son and daughter, they love cars now. And I always say it's just like sports. It's amazing how, things can bring people together. I met some of my greatest friends through, basketball and cars. And it's the love that I have and my family have. And man, you can't miss me with basketball, fishing, and cars. You can't miss me, Dion. So definitely, I'm a car guy and definitely love cars.
Well, all right, that begs my next question. Which one came first? Which one was that first true love? Was it basketball? Was it fishing? Or was it cars?
Actually, it was probably baseball. I played baseball all the way through high school. I had an uncle, Uncle Mooney, who coached me and would never let me stop playing. And then it was probably basketball and cars right there. But baseball and fishing probably would have been up at the top, Dion. So definitely, some loves that I enjoy and thankful that I get to not just enjoy myself, but to get to enjoy them with my family and friends.
So what kind of cars do you like personally?
Well, I'm a muscle car guy. So anything muscle car, probably my favorites is, 67 through 72. Those are my favorites. I'm really a Chevy guy. I like Fords also, but I grew up Chevy. So, like some of the cars I've been fortunate to have a lot of cars. A couple that I have right now. I have a really nice 70 Chevelle. My first LS car, so it's an LS3 motor in it. Yeah, I have that, and I have a '69 Camaro convertible, RSSS convertible that I have, and those are just a couple that I have that I really enjoy. But you can't miss me. We want to talk about cars, all of them. I enjoy it. I love them, and those are just a few that I have and been fortunate to have. And
so, Rod, I know you're kind of famous around here for your cars and some of the stuff that you have in that garage there. So you got an opportunity to go on one of our shows, Driven, with Tom Gregory. How was that?
Man, it was special. Driven is an outstanding show. Tom does a great job with the show. I mean, they kind of go around nationally and talk to people about their cars. I was fortunate we highlighted my '70 Chevelle LS3 car. I mean, it was big time. I mean, he brought the drones out. We were able to ride and just be able to talk, looking depth at the car, look at all our other cars, but also beyond being able to tie together and share my thoughts about the cars that I love, but also how I think they correlate with basketball and other sports. So, man, it was a special show. I'm excited about being on it. As I said, Tom does a great job, and man, I'm honored. I mean, I think it's special, just being able to say I was on the show about Driven, to be able to talk about the great cars. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see how they put it together. It's going to be special, man.
Well, Rod, thank you so much, man. And if people need to find you or get in contact with you or for anything or know what you're doing up next, how do people get a hold of you with your social media and everything?
Yeah, on Twitter, I'm Stingray Rod, Instagram, Rod Thompson 22. Then I'm just on Facebook. I'm just Rod Thompson. Feel free to hit me up. Any car questions, any basketball questions. But Dion, appreciate what you're doing. You're doing an outstanding job, man. And I want to continue to look forward to doing even more of this with, telling people about cars. We're going to talk basketball and sports the whole time, but all these things that we are fortunate to do bring a lot of people together and bring a lot of people, a lot of happiness and a lot of joy, man. A lot of kids work extremely hard, and we're just fortunate to be able to talk about and try to help them along the way.
Man, we certainly are, man. Thanks, Rod. Appreciate you for coming on.
Yep, no doubt.
Direct snap to Presley, right side. Oh, it's Kirby up there helping block for him. He's got a first down and more. He's going to be gone.
Be sure to go to YurView.com/OK for highlights and replays of the Ford Game of the Week. And check out our podcast and past episodes at YurView.com/OK. Check out Rod and his fine cars on Driven, Sunday night, December 12th at 8 p.m. right here on Cox YurView Channel 3. And remember, guys, only the best in Oklahoma, like our friend Rod Thompson, make it to Ford High School Weekly. So thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Dion Amade.
Ford High School Weekly has been brought to you by your Oklahoma Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Oklahoma. And by Rib Crib, smoking good stuff since '92.